What's up? It's your host, Tori, and who is ready to be petty? Welcome back to another episode of RTBP. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm back with a very special guest, Layla. Layla, how are you?
I'm doing so good. Thank you for having me on again.
Thanks for coming back. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about you and your Instagram and TikTok content?
I'm a TikTok and Instagram content creator. I talk about all the things pop culture, celebrity news, celebrity couples, reality TV, just anything and everything.
I love it. It's really nice I feel like sometimes I just go to your page just to catch up on the news because there's so many different sources. Like you can find your information from so many different places, but sometimes it's just nice to get the roundup of what you need to know.
I love that so much. Thank you so much. I feel like I follow all the pop culture media outlets and then also like creators on top of that. So sometimes I feel like, oh, everybody knows about this already. Like I don't need to add my voice to the pile. But then I remind myself like not everyone is like inundated with this information day in, day out.
Totally. And sometimes it's so much to follow up on. There's like little pieces that just get past you. But I feel like we have an interest in a lot of similar things too. That's another thing is like there's so many creators that cover like all of Bravo, and it's like I really just want to talk about Summer House and like VPR. Like
100%. I feel like I don't really have one like niche within pop culture, but there are so many things that I like just could not care less about. So it's really just like anything that I see that's like, oh, I would want to know more about that. Then like I do the research and then I would make like a video about it or something.
I know, which I appreciate. And last time you were on, which was episode 151, we talked about Scooter Braun's like demise that never like really materialized. Like what the fuck happened with that?
I feel like everyone was so ready for him to have this big falling out with the industry. And it just simply was like never gonna happen.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this on that episode, but I read an article that basically said like he sold his company for $1 billion. He was like busy being a mogul in K-pop or something. And it was like, oh, he's doing just fine. Honestly, I think it was the Swifties that like
I know.
that like lit fire under the flame.
I know. It's so funny whenever these things happen, because they happen often where us, the like pop culture junkies, get really excited about a certain thing. And then we run with it. And sometimes we take it too far and then nothing ever happens. And then we just move on quickly because the content is new the next week. Like
100%.
And we also, which this ended up like coming true. I think at the time we were just speculating that Kylie had changed her whole aesthetic because she was like actually dating Timothée Chalamet. And we've had the most Kylie content since we last talked.
The Kylie Timmy content is still so wild to me.
It's so weird.
Like they won't do a red carpet together, but they will be front and center at the Golden Globes. Like that's crazy.
It's so crazy. It kind of reminds me the Kim Kardashian, Pete Davidson on like Splash Mountain or whatever pictures came up on my feed the other day. And I was like, remember that? Like, I feel like we'll be saying that about Timothée and Kylie in a few years.
Yeah. I mean, I miss Kim and Pete. Like that was such a fun time.
Me too. Me too.
And like this like Kim and OBJ thing, I just like couldn't get out of bed for. Like I was like next, like I feel like we knew that / like it's just not exciting, especially when it was paired with like everything else going on the day of the Super Bowl, because I feel like that's when they were like making headlines.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's such a good point. Like let's really relish in this time that we have Kylie and Timmy.
Absolutely, because it's the absurdity of them, and same with Kim and Pete, where Odell Beckham Jr., I'm just like, yeah, that makes total sense. Like, hot couple. Moving on.
He was on everybody's short list when she first was single. So it was like, right, like we all decided that together.
Absolutely. Totally. And maybe we did. Maybe that list was brought to Kris Jenner in a boardroom, and maybe it was our influence.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, today we're gonna jump into the SAG Awards. We're gonna talk about Meryl Streep and Martin Short dating rumors. And then Summer House Season 8, we had the premiere last week. And then Layla's going to nominate a Pettyweight Champion of the Week and share her This Week in Petty story. So the SAG Awards, I didn't watch, but you really like award season, but do you watch or do you just look at the red carpet and the viral moments?
So I feel like award season fatigue this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And I haven't had cable, so I really haven't been able to watch a lot of them. I haven't really even been able to watch the red carpet coverage, but I do will whatever it takes to watch the Oscars that are coming up in a couple weeks. Not
Yeah.
even sure how I'll be able to stream it, but like I'll log on for that day. And then I usually watch the Grammys, but I just like couldn't, whatever it was, like Paramount, I was like, okay, never mind. Like I'll just get the clips online.
Totally. I feel like with COVID, we were like starving for red carpet content. And then like, award season came back like full throttle. And I'm kind of fatigued by it too. Like the SAG Awards. So I watched the Modern Family reunion moment. I watched the Devil Wears Prada reunion moment. And then I looked at some red carpet looks and I said, goodbye. Like, thank you.
That's how I feel. I feel like everything that's worth watching, I can watch the next day on my phone, and it's
Hmm.
a minute and a half, and I don't have to sit through like 3 hours of like watching my TV for things that like I simply do not need to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm the same way. I every award show, I'm like, I don't need to post about the red carpet, but then I inevitably do because there's just something worth posting about.
Totally. Who were your favorite looks? This
Okay. My top toots are Issa Rae. She was wearing
so
this like
good.
gorgeous, like peach, like flute with a cross around her neck, and her hair is just gorgeous. Ariana Greenblatt, which I saw you had on your list too.
Unreal.
A-
Unreal.
Absolutely unreal. This like huge, like red velvet, almost like Disney villain dress, but like she looks so good. Carrie Mulligan, who wore this like really pretty champagne dress. And then Tyler James Williams from Abbott Elementary. He is honestly my like best dressed man every single red carpet. I feel like he's so underrated, but he was wearing this really cool like baby blue shimmery suit with like this really cool silhouette and like this mesh shirt underneath. I'm like, yeah, no guys are like doing what he's doing right now.
No, that's so true. It's really good. It's kind of the color is giving what Ryan Gosling has been wearing a lot this award season, but the cut of the suit and the mesh underneath is really cool. And it's something that's so different from the normal black tux. And yeah, Issa Rae looks like phenomenal. And Carrie Mulligan, I feel like this is a really underrated dress. It just really works. I could see this also for the Academy Awards because it kind of looks like the statue. But yeah, she looks beautiful.
No, I thought the same thing about Carrie. I was like, she is manifesting right now.
No, she really is. And then Ariana Greenblatt, like, please look this up, everybody. It's like, okay, so I'm having my own Twilight renaissance because I am covering it on, or the episode will already be out when this one comes out, but on Ready to Be Romance, I reread Twilight with two of my like Twi hard friends. And now I'm looking at every content through the lens of like, how could this be like vampire related? And I could totally see her red velvet dress in like a very sexy vampire photo shoot. Like, is basically what I'm saying.
I see the vision 100%. If you just like have a little darker makeup and like darker accessories, like it's there 100%.
Totally. Like I could see, because I've been also looking at a lot of old Robert Pattinson, Kristen Stewart, like photo shoots for the first movie. And I could totally have seen this be one of the looks that they put her in. I also wrote Pedro Pascal because, and one of my friends texted me about his like billowing white t-shirt and his like curly, like his cute little curly hair that it's just doing something for me. It's the Mr. Darcy effect that's just, it's really working.
Pedro Pascal, I feel so safe with him.
I
He feel
know. Why?
he would never hurt us.
I know. I know. I get the same vibes. Yeah, that's so funny. I also wrote down, this isn't an actress that I am familiar with, but Nicole Bahari from The Morning Show. I didn't watch The Morning Show simply because I don't have Apple TV, but she's wearing like a coral, it almost looks like not a jumpsuit, but it's like a column dress with this beautiful hot pink kind of shawl / cape. It's giving like the updated Taylor Swift. I don't know if you remember that look. It must have been some Grammys where she had the Anna Winter hair and yeah, the bandeau.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. That image of Taylor Swift flashed into my mind as soon as I looked up this look. So like we're on the same page. Yes.
But like this is elevated and 2024. So really good. And then Margot Robbie also, you can kind of see, I feel like she's moving kind of out of Barbie, but because she didn't wear a look that was recreated, but it was still in the Barbie colors and stuff like that. And I just love how much intention is in that. Like, it seems like she's really winding down this era because it was like a modern outfit. Again, wasn't a recreation of a previous Barbie look, but it was black with the pink piece. I don't know. I'm so bad at talking about fashion because it's just so out of my wheelhouse. Like,
I feel the same. I'm like, try so hard to be a fashion girl. And I'm like, oh, you actually have no idea what you're talking about.
No, literally. And the only reason that I like really stood out that looked not great to me, Joey King has had, actually, when has Joey King ever pulled a look really on a red carpet? She's stunning, but like, she just, I don't know, fire her stylist, but she was wearing straight up people that are 31, my age, will remember the like, it's a small,
it's like a zigzag headband.
Yes, a zigzag
and it like
headband.
stretches. Yeah.
Yes, and like pulls your bangs back. Thank you. And it would like snap all the time and just like it was such shit. But like she just is wearing that with like like the dress is beautiful. I love the gloves. And like again, her face looks really good, but just like it's so bad. I don't know why they just didn't do like a thin piece or like something jeweled or like, I don't know. It's just alarming.
I respect so much taking a risk on the red carpet. Like you do you, even if you just want to do something for the sake of doing it. But like, this is so confusing to me. This is like beyond trying to be a risk taker. This is like, she let her hair air dry, threw on this headband. Like there's no styling. Even like her makeup isn't really something super like interesting or like noticeable. And then the dress seems like she thrifted it from the local Goodwill and she called it a day. Like the dress is fine. It's like very like authentic 90s vibes that like it actually might be in the back of your mom's closet.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, I don't know if she knew she was going to the SAG Awards when she got in the car, just like that.
I know. No, that's so true. And you're totally right. Her hair looks exactly like mine does when I don't blow dry it or like style it at all. And it's just like one shape and like not good. It's really bad. Also, just to fucking pile on, like just to absolutely double down on her. The hair color, it's like one shade off of the new Ariana Grande hair color. And it's just, these girls need their color palette done by someone.
No, I'm glad you said that because I am fully on color palette TikTok. And like, I love it. And it makes such a difference. And like, they need to figure that out. Like hair color is a big deal. Like, you cannot pull off any hair color. It's like usually your natural hair color looks best, but like these blondes are just getting so washed out.
Totally. That is one of my hottest takes, I think, is that like, I think you could go up a few shades, like a few shades lighter, a few shades darker, but I don't know. I really think when you drastically change your hair color like this, it rarely works. Like, it really rarely works. Like, I think that this is like proof of that, but poor Joey King. Like, this is.
And the blonde, I don't
bad.
even think could be her fault necessarily. Like, blonde is so hard to, it's so hard to maintain too. Like,
yeah,
she could have gotten it done and it looked amazing. And now it's like a couple weeks out and it just like needs something, a highlight, a tone. I don't know. I've never been blonde, but like,
yeah,
it's just a difficult choice to keep up with.
100%. Yeah.
Or for a movie.
And this wasn't at the SAG Awards, but I watched one of her glam bots on TikTok and it was so bad. And I saw that you were making content about this, but I've also been on glam bot TikTok for some reason, because it's like they're never like, it's not good content, to be honest. It was fun, I feel like, the first like time you saw them. But then unless you're analyzing them like if you're just watching them and then like moving on, not good, like not fun. Not original. And I don't know.
I feel like the Glambot was such like a cool thing because we'd never seen anything like that before. But I think I totally agree with what you're saying. And of course, I'm like kind of riding really hard for Glambots right now because I started like out of nowhere reviewing them on my TikTok. But
which is funny.
But I feel like it's just really hard to do a good one. So like you're either going to be completely average, like nothing special, or really mediocre. And then there's the 1% that's like, oh, that's stunning and like really cool.
Exactly. And if you Google or like search on TikTok, like Glambot fails or I don't know, something like that, and you get the ones where their eyes aren't tracking the camera or they like, they look, it's slowed down at the wrong time or whatever. It's really bad. It's really like, I would be upset if that was like posted about me and I was like a celeb. And Cole, who is the guy that runs the Glambot, I want to shout him out because he seems so lovely. And he went to my alma mater, which is like maybe not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but since I live like in Canada, the west coast of Canada, kind of wild that he went to the university I went to. He seems so lovely, but I don't know, their content is not hitting anymore.
Yeah, I also love Cole, and part of my favorite parts of the Glambot videos is seeing his interaction with the celebrity.
Exactly. Yes.
And all the comments will be like, oh, they passed the vibe check, or they didn't, like if they were actually nice to Cole, or if they just like cast him off at some random employee on the red carpet that they don't need to pay attention to because they don't realize that they're being filmed. So that whole part of it is honestly like probably worth it more so than the actual Glambot.
Totally. Yeah, I like looking at the comment section and seeing how people responded to how the celeb was interacting with him. I also like to see celebs in this way, not perform, but like do a task that I think I would be awful at. And if they're awful at it too, I'm like, okay, like I don't feel so bad about myself. Like, but everyone should look up. I feel like Madeline Klein's was a recent one that got a little bit of heat. And then there's another person, Sigourney Weaver, I think, that like is infamous, I feel like, at this point.
And then if you want to see a really good one, look up Cara Delevingne.
Oh, it's with the red dress, right? Red or black dress?
Yes, with the red dress, yeah.
Yeah, literally, I think I watched that on your TikTok. Too funny. Okay, let's talk about Meryl Streep and Martin Short. So, two lovely humans. Truly, I feel like gems in this cold industry. But allegedly, they might be dating, which you don't think that they're dating. And like, do I think that they're dating? Probably not. But like, it's kind of fun to chit chat about it.
It's so fun to chit chat about it. I think they're so innocently getting dinner and they're just like friends who have been in the industry for so long. But like if they came out and said that they were dating tomorrow, I would be thrilled. I'd be their number one fan.
Me too, truly. So they are working on Only Murders in the Building together. And they were seen, there's been like two award shows where they've been cozy with one another, the Golden Globes, and then this past week at the SAG Awards. And then they went for dinner, which like I get, like, do you see your friend that much in a week? Like, I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I was just thinking like whenever a new celebrity couple comes out like this, like Kim and Pete, Taylor and Travis, I am always the biggest naysayer in the first week or so. And then I always eat my words. So honestly, I'm just gonna like do a complete 180 and just say that they're fully dating and they're gonna fall in love and get married.
That's so true. With the big like hype around PR relationships in the last couple years, now every time a celeb is seen with one another, I'm like, this is PR. And then like I would say, like 50% of them turn out to be real. In my Discord for my Patreon, someone just posted new pics of Gigi and Bradley, but Gigi's holding a huge bag for I think her clothing line. And I'm like, okay, so this was a relationship again. I said it was PR, and then I was like, oh no, I'm coming around to saying that they're real, and then like now I'm back on the PR train. Like, back to Meryl and Martin. Meryl had separated from her husband 6 years ago after 40 years of marriage, and Martin's wife passed away in 2010. And that's why I feel like I'm rooting so hard for this couple, because it's like this would be such a, not a second chance romance, but a later in life romance, I feel like is very sweet.
And when I read that Martin is a widow, my heart broke. Like that's just so sad, like losing his partner so early, but they're both like incredibly talented and funny and just like amazing people in the industry. And if like they got together, like that's insane. Like that is actually, I know people joke, but like that would actually be like my Taylor and Travis.
Yeah, no, truly. No, absolutely. And I feel like I read that a spokesperson, but it wasn't their managers or anything like that. So I don't know. But I was reading an article and basically they were saying that they're nothing more than friends. But I don't know. I'm still rooting for them.
It was a spokesperson for Only Murders in the Building, which was so weird.
Why are you speaking on their public personas?
I know, which makes me think that it is PR just for the show.
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah. That could also be true, because I feel like sometimes when we think of PR relationships, we think it's like, oh yeah, they like are a fake relationship, but also I feel like it's just like, no, let's just catch dinner once in a while just to get some pictures. And
100%.
yeah, and it's just like us hanging out and we'll get some headlines and then yeah, interesting. I want to take us back though, because if everyone remembers the viral Selena Gomez Taylor Swift lip reading video where they're talking about allegedly Timothy Chalamet and Kylie Jenner turning down Selena for a picture, she said the next day that she actually just found out that two friends were hooking up and wanted to tell Taylor and Kelly. And so now people are like, oh my God, was it Meryl and Martin hooking up? Which, like, obviously is absolutely insane, but I just like thinking about that.
I like thinking about it too. Selena, side note, like, has Selena always been this way? Like, I feel like ever since she started dating Benny Blanco, she just is wild for how
Totally.
famous she is. Like, you cannot be commenting these things on Instagram.
Totally. I think there's a few things. I think she kind of always has been like this. Like, I feel like she's always been online, like on her own accounts. Because I just remember the Justin Bieber days where she posted, like, when he was dating someone new, I think Sophia Richie at the time, maybe. He was saying, like, fans, like, leave her alone. And then she had commented, like, something about, like, if you can't take the heat, like, get your girlfriend off of Instagram or something like that. And so I feel like she has always been like this. I think she also has reached a level of fame at this point in her career that's, like 15 years long or whatever, that it's like she's kind of like uncancelable, or like she's kind of at the stage where she can do these things and like still remain, at the top of her game, I guess. So I feel like she just like kind of can get away with it. So she just does it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know this specific comment she made about, oh, we were talking about my two friends hooking up. Like, what did she think that was going to do? But like, I am choosing the path of, I'm choosing the path that it was Meryl and Martin.
Yeah, at this point, me too. I don't even care about Kylie and Timothy at this point. I also think it's so funny because it seems like the excuse, like, if you're talking shit about someone, or no, you want to talk shit about someone, you're like arguing with someone or whatever, and you send them another person, their screenshot of the combo, and you're like, you want to be like, oh my God, look what this bitch said, or something like that. But you send it to the person you're arguing with. That's what this is giving. And then it's like the excuse of like, oh, sorry, I just was going to send this back to you because to check if this was like your last message that you sent me, or like whatever, like some bad excuse of why you accidentally did that. That is what this excuse is giving.
Yeah. I mean, it would have just been better if she said nothing, but like, this is fun too to talk about.
I know. It would have been so much better if she said nothing about half the things she says online. Oh
Yeah,
my
because like
God.
part of being like as big of a celebrity as she is, part of that is like you actually don't need to answer to anything.
I know. I know. It's true. Yeah, you really don't have to, but I get the want or the need to want to respond basically.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Mazel to Martin and Meryl if they're actually dating. Can't wait for more content from them.
If they don't find love with each other, I hope they find it soon with somebody
With
else.
someone else, totally. If that's what they want, then
Yeah, of
I'm
course, of course.
yeah, then I would be super stoked for either of them because they just seem like such down to earth people. Summer House season 8 premiered. I have so many mixed feelings about it, but I'm excited to hear your thoughts. Were you excited for this season, and what did you think of episode 1?
I was so excited for this season. I recently got into Summer House last year. So
Right.
I watched the whole series last spring, I believe, and I caught up like just in time to watch the season 7, like the last couple episodes in the reunion. So I'm still like very fresh onto Summer House. It's like one of my favorite shows. I definitely have a different experience since I haven't been watching it all these years, but I was super excited for this season and just like honestly consider the entire cast like my friends, and I get to hang out with my friends again.
It really does feel like that, especially when I'm freezing my ass off here in Victoria. Watching people at like a 4th of July pool party really did something for me this week.
100%.
I have some like big picture questions, but I'm curious before we get into those, just because you are a recent watcher and so you wouldn't have like the years of lead up to this, but like, were you on Team Lindsay or Team Danielle last year?
Lindsay.
Oh my God, so was I.
Okay, thank God.
And and like I'm whispering now because I don't want people to absolutely brutalize us in the comments, but like I I like I wasn't a staunch Team Lindsay girl. Like I could see valid points and also not valid points with both of their arguments. But in general, if I was like gun to my head, had to pick a side, like it's Lindsay. But I feel like now, like I feel like people last summer were on Team Danielle, and then when Winter House premiered, they were like, okay, Danielle also has like a few things that she needs to like work out.
Yeah, I mean, I was never like a fan of Lindsay. She was never my favorite, but also since I watched it without so much of like commentary, from other
Yes,
people.
yes, yes.
I never hated Lindsay as much as I feel like a lot of people did. But when it came to season 7, I just feel like Danielle was acting so insane. And like so many things she did were kind of indefensible. And it got to a point where I was like, just nothing she's doing is like valid anymore. In like her reaction was not making sense to the cause.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was like, guys, I'm sorry. Like it has to be Lindsay on this one, but I like don't say it too loudly.
No, I know. Especially with the Robert stuff that like was happening at the time. Like I really think that a lot of Danielle's behavior at the time was coming from like a really actually like vulnerable place with like her relationship, like long-term relationship like disintegrating in front of her eyes.
And part of the reason I was Team Lindsay is because even at the reunion, having like months of perspective and watching it play back on TV, Danielle still had the nerve to be like, oh, this had nothing to do with my relationship. Like I wasn't
Yeah,
projecting.
that's
And it was
that's
like,
not self-aware.
look in the mirror for 1 second.
Yeah. And I get that Lindsay was like basically stonewalling her at some point, which is really bad, which is why I'm again not in really either. I don't know. There's no winners really here. It was a tough go around. So I'm excited to see what their relationship looks like this season. But yeah, okay. So because not much went on in the premiere, even though it was a fun episode, and I do have some points about the new people on the cast, but I have some like bigger picture questions. So like my first one is about Carl and Lindsay. Do you care at this point what happened to their like the demise of their relationship?
I do still care, but I feel like we already have the big picture and obviously we'll get filled in more details. But like for me, what we've seen so far in interviews, seeing the breakup play out online and just like how that letter got leaked about canceling the wedding, like we got so much inside info. And just even in the previews for this season, it from where I'm standing right now, I everything makes sense to me. And so I'm still want to see it play out and I still want to get all the details to fill in the holes, but it's definitely not like the biggest thing that's going to happen this season that's like the most interesting to me necessarily.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm really having a problem with Bravo right now because so much of the TV shows now happen off camera in between seasons. I think this happened a lot with The Bachelor too, where like basically the most interesting part, the couples breaking up, like, or the fighting in between a season wrapping and people going on Paradise. That became the more interesting part. And I feel like with watching VPR season 11 with Ariana and Tom, we're back to 3 months after Scandival. So that puts us into March, April, May of last year. I'm like, we've had 9 months or whatever of 8 months of online stuff that has happened and the articles and the conversations and the podcasts and stuff like that I like don't care really what's happening because it's already passed. Like I've already moved on. And I think that's what's happening with Summer House too. I have no idea. I guess like editing and stuff like that. But I have no idea why the lead time is like they filmed this, this first weekend is always 4th of July. Why the fuck is it premiering in February 2024?
Yeah. I mean, this is like across the board the problem with like reality TV shows and with big stories like Scandival and like with this, we go on such a roller coaster and we get so much coverage of it that like
Yeah.
our perspective changes sometimes daily. So now to go backwards, like we can't even relate to this time anymore. We're so far gone in like a
Yeah.
completely different part of the journey.
No, that's so true. That's why the Heather Gay, Monica, I forget her last name, Garcia.
Garcia.
Yeah. That's why that was so interesting because we had no idea that was happening. And then we can watch the fallout happen after the season's wrapped. But yeah, like at this point, yeah, we have totally moved on. Do we know exactly what happened? No, but we have, I think, some inkling that like possibly Lindsay accused Carl of using again, and then like just that they weren't getting along, and that maybe she was like too into like the wedding planning and not like the relationship aspect of that. That like I feel like I'm like, what's there to watch? Like,
Yeah, I feel like when they dropped the trailer, I immediately got the sense that this was going to be Carl's point of view, and it was going to lean heavily to like sympathize with him. And I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong, but like as quick as I was Team Lindsay in season 7, like I don't think she's gonna have the same like hero
sway.
story this season. Yeah.
Totally. So two things stood out to me. I thought the exact same thing, but then I felt like in the episode, it actually looked like Carl was the absentee wedding planner husband, and she was like the one doing all the labor. So I was like, that's interesting that they're like pointing this out, because they didn't have to, show Carl in this light. And then the other thing that I saw is that there was that little comment about Ariana being talked about at the White House. I think they were alluding to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And they're like, well, we're not, on that same level. And I was like, does Lindsay want to be Ariana? And is she making their breakup look in a way that looks scandalous so she can be Ariana?
Yeah, honestly, like that's a really good call. I feel like when the breakup first immediately happened, we had very little details. It was like so much sympathy towards Lindsay because Carl was clearly the one that ended it. And she felt blindsided. And that was basically all we knew. It was shocking because their wedding shower was like weeks prior, like
Yeah.
14 days prior. And it was like, where did this come from? This is gut wrenching. Like deposits are down, trips are planned, like the wedding, blah, blah, blah. But now that we're knowing more information and seeing the trailer, it seems like this was not an Ariana level situation.
100%. The other big question I have is about Kyle and Amanda, because their storyline for the past like 2 or 3 seasons, or I guess post wedding, has just been like being newlyweds, how tough that is, Loverboy getting off the ground, but a little bit redundant, which it's like, I don't think that's necessarily like a problem, because I'm glad they're like not making stuff up. And I think this is kind of typical maybe of a relationship, but I feel like their storylines are kind of stagnant, because basically they're talking about how they want to maybe move out of the city and then have a kid. But obviously that would mean that they wouldn't be on the TV show anymore. I guess it's not really a question, but like a more of a comment, that it's like, it must be really tough when, your claim to fame is Summer House. That's how you're known, and it really impacts Loverboy. I've never met one person that drinks Loverboy. Again, it's like not even sold in Canada. That's why I like it's like makes sense why I've never heard of anyone drinking it. But like, from what I see online, people don't buy it unless they are either a Summer House fan, or like, I think maybe the odd person that just like likes the way that the packaging looks and stuff like that. But Loverboy wouldn't be as a big success if Summer House wasn't there. So it's just wild to see how they clearly, like, I think need to move on from this show, but feel like they are trapped in it, and it's literally like prolonging these large milestone events in their lives just because of a TV show.
Yeah, that is crazy. I always thought like the second anyone gets pregnant, like they just simply don't have a place on the show anymore. Like there's people get mad because they think it should be a show about single people hooking up in the Hamptons. And now there's like so many couples, but like the couples can get by, but like you absolutely cannot be pregnant at a shared house. Like
No,
that's just
no,
not,
no.
that's not gonna fly.
No, you would just straight up lose your job, and maybe you come visit like when they do the day hangouts like at the beach, or when they go to a winery or something like that. Like maybe you could pop in there, but like basically your reality TV life ends, and that must be tough. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Amanda said this first episode, like she took that pregnancy test during Winter House, which like I don't know how genuine that was, but like
Yeah.
it made them realize that they're not ready.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I just like don't need them to be debating these big life milestones like on camera necessarily and being like, are we ready for a kid? It's like that's not the vibe.
Yeah, no, literally. That's so true. Like, I want you guys to have a fight over the fucking banana stuffed animal. Like, I don't need to hear, like, your, like, existential crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're interesting. I also just felt like Amanda, like, hated Kyle this episode. I've never really rooted for them as a couple because I actually just think they're, like, mismatched. But this was the first episode I watched that I was like, I actually don't think you're going to be married forever. And I've never really thought that before.
Same, but I always thought it was because when I started watching, they were already married,
Right.
you know? So I was like, oh, they figured it out, like whatever it was, their differences, they like accepted them.
No, they haven't.
They absolutely haven't. But I also got a way different vibe watching the premiere. I was like, there's so much resentment in her voice.
Yes.
Like,
thank you.
It was really uncomfy, and I was like, you guys cannot still be in this place. Like, you simply cannot be 2 years into your marriage, like 5 or 6 years into being together. Like, you cannot be having these like fundamental differences anymore.
Absolutely. I've talked a little about this when I've covered previous seasons of Love is Blind and even a little bit of Summer House, but like this is a little bit of what I studied in college, interpersonal relationships, and to see the contempt, which is like a very famous relationship psychologist, one of his like basically signs for divorce is contempt. And when I heard her talking about Kyle in this episode, I was like, oh no, you like actually like hate him. Like I was like, I actually don't think you really like him or like this relationship. I just think that maybe because of these external factors like the show, you are continuing to still stay with him, because it seems like she also can't even be honest about her working relationship with him and Loverboy. Like she clearly doesn't want to do, like seems like a workaholic and seems like a hustler and stuff like that, and she has said multiple times how she doesn't like to do that type of stuff. And it's just wild to see that, yeah, that they're still having this like miscommunication.
I feel like I could have an entire podcast episode about like Kymanda and their dynamic. I have
Yeah.
so many thoughts. Okay,
Yes.
first,
yes,
we've seen these like themes before in their storylines. Do you think it's genuine? Like him being like, I need you to do this for Loverboy, and her being like, can we change the Monday morning meeting to Tuesday? Like, do you think that's real? Or are they just like playing it up for the camera?
I think that scene was playing it up for the camera, but I do think it comes from a real place. I think she is a depressed person. I see a lot of like me in her like low affect and like wanting to just like be on the couch watching TV with her dogs, but like not in like a normal way. I feel like it's in a depression way, just because I don't know, I see that in myself, and I think it's like untreated depression. And then I just think it's like a values difference or whatever and an energy difference. And I know like being a person with depression, it can be really hard to be in a relationship, especially if a person doesn't have depression. Like it can just be really tough to be like, actually there's going to be like a month or like weeks at a time or whatever where like I'm like not leaving the couch or whatever. I don't know. That might be like an overstep on my behalf, but like she seems to have, I don't know, like low grade, like low energy depression. I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, I see that and I think it makes sense. So that was
Yeah.
one thing. And then my other thing is like this conversation at the carnival between the two of them.
Yeah.
And then I'm glad they added in like that bit at the end where she's talking to Paige and Sierra about it, because I feel like it gave a lot more context that we were not getting in the moment at the carnival. Because at the carnival, I like felt bad for Kyle for a second, which I was like, what's happening? He was like
Yeah.
coming to her like so vulnerable, being like asking her something so innocent and sweet, and she shut him down immediately. And I was like, oh my God, you literally hate him. Like he's
Yeah.
literally coming to you, asking you to do something, and you are like shoving it right back in his face. And
100%.
seeing her talking about it at the end and being like, this is all I ever wanted from him. And then he couldn't give it to me. And then she learned to live without it. And now she's happy without it. And now he wants it. I would be pissed off too. But like, also, I just want to say, like, the getting our groove back comment. I'm like, no, you guys
You've
aren't,
never had a groove.
you've never had a groove, but also like giant fucking red flag waving in the
Yeah.
sky. Like, if you need to get your groove back at this time, like that should be reserved for 10, 20, 30 years down the line.
100%. Because they've also, like, this is 8 seasons. So they've been in a relationship for 8 years, which is a really long time. But, like, like, relationships wax and wane with like, being in the same group and stuff like that. But, like, is she, like, newlyweds? And I don't know. I'm not a newlywed. I've never been a newlywed. So, like, maybe weigh in, listeners. But, like, yeah, it doesn't seem. I think that there could definitely be. I think it would be unrealistic to expect that everything is perfect a year or two post wedding. But I also think having this type of conversation early in their marriage, I think is rough. I also think, or like not a red flag, but something to note, I think. Like, I think it's good information for them to look at. I'm so glad you brought up the conversation at the carnival, because basically he was like, I go away for periods of time because of work, and then I come home and you like don't give a fuck about me. And like he said it in a way that was like pretty casual, but that's actually, I think, really vulnerable, and like actually not that much to ask of your partner, that when you were away for periods of time to, and he said, I don't need fanfare, but like some interest in me coming home would be nice. And I think that exactly what you're saying, like she just like doesn't care if he lives or dies, like truly at this point. Like, and this is another point in, I feel like, the depression argument, because it's like, I also feel like if you aren't excited by big events, like your partner coming home from a business trip, like that is, maybe you just don't have the energy or the dopamine or whatever of like to express any interest in that. But yeah, that was a wild conversation that it just went straight over her head.
No, that exact moment when he said, "Do you miss me?" And she straight up was like, "Oh, like I have the dogs, I watch my shows, like what's there to miss?" I was like,
Yeah.
floored. I
Yeah.
was floored. I was like, "You don't miss your husband when he's gone
Yeah.
for days on like a work trip?" And I don't know, this like newlyweds idea, I feel like it's a little, I'm not married, but I am in a long-term relationship, and I feel like when you're with someone for multiple years, I don't know, maybe I will feel like a newlywed glow, but I feel like it's almost a different feeling.
Yeah.
I feel like the newlywed is when you like dated someone for 6 months back in the day and like you got
Yeah.
married, and
Yeah.
then it was
So
like
true.
still kind of in the like puppy thing. I'm not expecting like newlywed, like everything's rosy, but like just these are just really basic like relationship things that you should maybe have more compassion and like want to like spend time with your significant other.
100%. I feel like the newlywed version of this is like you're picking him up from the airport with like a sign and a coffee and a balloon and stuff like that. And then like the long-term version is that like he takes an Uber home, but you like schedule some quality time with him when he arrives. And she's not even doing that.
Or you at least get off the couch and like give him a hug, like bare minimum. I don't even think she needs to like pick him up or cook him dinner, but like, oh my God, like just I don't think she's even looking up from her phone. Like,
no, I know, which is really disheartening. I really felt for him in that moment. Yeah, poor guy. And then she was like, this also pissed me off, and then we can move on. But like, she was like, yeah, he wants to spend time with me, but then like at the carnival he was spending time with like everyone but me. And then she was like referencing the banana stuffed animal, and I was like, but you're filming a TV show, and he knows. He is like, at this point, I feel like a producer, and you know, he was a big part of why the show got started and why it's continued. And it's like, he knows that you're filming at this point, and Summer House fans die for his solo content of him just like eating cookie dough out of the freezer or riding a Ferris wheel with a huge banana stuffed animal and stuff like that. Like, I was like, that probably wasn't the time that you were gonna like immediately start hanging out, but like maybe another time was.
I know. I feel like they're constantly just missing each other.
I know.
Like not like missing each other, but just like crossing wires.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, absolutely. I also just want to say, like, again, not to completely shit on them, but like, when you have your relationship filmed like this and you can go back and watch kind of like basically how you are in a relationship and what you might have missed when your partner, because I get it, there can be miscommunications. Maybe you have your own shit going on that day and your partner says something, or you just miss it. You misunderstand, whatever. If you watch it back and don't change your behavior, I feel like that also is like a huge red flag that you like don't even care and you're just content with living this way, basically.
And that she's still brought up that he cheated on her.
I know.
And I think it's horrible, and I think like she deserved to relish in that, not relish, but like throw it in his face as much as she could for even a year or two after. But like, now you're married and you chose to stay with him,
yes,
you have to let it go and move on.
Yeah. No, that's so true. When you choose to stay with a person, I know I'm making sweeping statements here, but like if you choose, like Brittany and Jax, I really feel like she does not bring it up anymore. Like, she chose to stay with this person, and like, she, as far as I know, again, doesn't try to throw it in his face 5 years down the road. So yeah, she should have broken up with him then, but she didn't. And then, so at this point, I feel like it's on you. Like,
yeah. And like, we do need to move on, but like, I still wonder, why didn't she, like, what was so great about him that she wanted to stay? Like, I really don't understand.
Kind of think it was the TV show. Like, just think about it for like 2 seconds. If she was like, what, like 21 or like 22 at the time, and she starts like randomly, like, she gets a friend with benefits, basically, who happens to be on a TV show that summer that is starting to make money and getting all the, you know, glitz and glam of being on a TV show. And then you become the girlfriend, and then you get brought on the TV show, and then it would be hard to break up with that person. Like, yeah.
I mean, that's honestly an amazing point. Like, if they had ended things, like, who would the show have chosen, Kyle or Amanda, to stay?
Kyle,
you know, like,
yeah, Kyle's
obviously Kyle, yeah.
Yeah, he's the ringleader. Yeah, he's the OG cast member. Like, she was basically just there as his side chick in season 1. She only became a cast member really in season 2. And I feel like the thrill of nabbing a guy that's like on the brink of fame is probably thrilling, and I would have done the same thing.
Actually, note to end on.
yeah, like I would have completely done the same thing. And like, I get also, like, I know I probably sound judgy, and I am a little bit about this, but like, who's knowing what I would do if I was in the same position and basically my whole life is defined by this TV show that is also defining my relationship. It's like, who knows how long I would stay in like an possibly unhappy marriage if, you know, literally my income, my friends, my life is kind of wrapped up in this thing. So,
Yeah. It's all very messy.
yes. So yeah, Danielle had a bad season last season and a bad Winter House season, but basically she not accused, but like told the girls that Robert has a new girlfriend who he worked with, like alluding that he maybe cheated on her or emotionally cheated. Do you think that this redeems any of her kind of behavior in the last year or so?
I don't know if it redeems it. It definitely like explains it. I just feel like after Winter House, like we got a big light shown on Danielle and kind of like her intricacies and maybe some of her like things, parts of her we haven't really seen before. And it was all just very revealing and like just didn't get the best vibes from her.
I know. It was tough. I'm really like, she is the one that I have my eye on this season. Just because I feel like she has the most to not prove, but like her and Sierra, I feel like I'm really looking forward to see like what their storylines are. Because Sierra's is that she possibly has a new guy that she's interested in, because we got 2 new cast members, West and Jesse. What do you think of these 2 new guys?
Okay. Finally, I feel like our answers have been our prayers have been answered. And
Yes.
we finally get guys on the show that are so normal, not douchey, like funny, like good vibes all around. West in particular is just like such a breath of fresh air and just immediately comfortable and like able to like vibe with everybody. So I feel like this is like a launching pad for him. Like I see him doing like such great things. Like everybody's on his side. That's kind of the vibe I get. And then Jesse, we kind of got like a little bit of him at the end of the first episode, but he seems like mostly solid.
Yeah, totally. Nervous because I did see a preview for next week's episode, or like when this is out, it'll have already aired. And it seems like he's hitting on Paige, like a person with a known boyfriend. But so I'm worried for him, but I'm obsessed with West and Sierra. I'm obsessed with West in general. Like, totally right. The ease at which both of these guys fit into this cast, they like finally nailed it. And it's after a few years of Summer House being, you know, predominantly like couples and stuff like that, it's such a like breath of fresh air to have 2 single guys. And I just couldn't be more happy that this is the direction the show is going in.
Yeah. And I did see Jesse hitting on Paige, and I'm hoping that's kind of like a clickbaity thing that they included, and it's more casual and like jokey. I don't know. Because yeah, it's like, what are we doing with that? I
No,
don't know
I
why he thought it would be funny, or he was like thought it would play differently, but like, yeah, that's just like very awkward and like doesn't look right.
I know. And then I was kind of thinking, I was like, do you think he even like Googled the cast? He seems like the kind of guy that just like showed up on the first day and was like, let's give it a go. I was like, maybe he like straight up didn't know, but I don't know. Maybe that's naive of me.
I know, we'll find out. And apparently, okay, do you remember when Kyle like kind of confronts him about it at dinner?
Yes, yes.
Apparently Craig is at that dinner
Oh,
too.
wild.
Yeah, so it's
Interesting.
like all happening out in the open. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of going to be like a minor thing, hopefully, in the end.
Because I agree. I hope so too, because I could totally see, because he was at his friend's wedding. So he was probably, and he was, I think, the best man or something like that. So it's like he was probably so busy leading up to the show. And then he
Mm.
got there the morning of the 4th of July party. So he didn't get to talk to any of the cast members before the party. And at parties like that, I feel like the conversation is usually like pretty small talk and pretty like, you know, all over the place and stuff like that. So I was like, maybe he just like missed the memo. And maybe he did do research beforehand, but when you're meeting so many people, I would be like, who's even on the cast? And like, I don't know. I like
Yeah.
who has a boyfriend and who doesn't. Like, it's not like ingrained in my memory.
Yeah, I feel like he is so far likable. Like not as much as West. Like West really is just like a home run.
Yes.
But I think he is like a solid hot dude to like have on the cast, and like we need those.
We really do. Because Corey and Sam aren't back this season. And while I'm happy that they aren't because of their like problematic views, I'm still kind of feeling bad for Sam. Like, because it really kind of seems like it was Corey's fault, like all of this. And now she's just like not on the show.
Yeah, I feel like all that has just come out after Winter House, and it was like very brutal how it ended. And I love Sam and I loved her on season 7, but I don't necessarily miss her on Summer House
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah.
But like I think she's gonna do good things elsewhere. Maybe they bring her back and that would be fun, but like I don't think there's like a Sam hole this season that like she needs to be on this season to like fill
That we're
some gap.
missing. Yeah, I think she's gonna be friend of a bit this summer. I think she did say that, but maybe that's good. I think it'll be nice that maybe Sierra and Gabby are gonna get more storylines, and then obviously I feel like the Carl and Lindsay thing is gonna blow up in the coming episode, so we'll get a lot of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any final Summer House thoughts before we move on?
No, I'm excited for this season. I think it'll be much lighter and more fun than last season.
Me too. I'm really happy. I think it had a little bit of a lull these last couple seasons, but like we're back. I really feel in my heart of hearts that we're back, and I'm so happy. I love I call them like the younger kid shows on Bravo, like Below Deck and VPR and Summer House.
Yes, same. I know I sometimes gravitate towards those more than Housewives sometimes.
Yeah.
And Summer House and Southern Charm are just so good.
Yeah, really, really good. Appointment television. Okay, let's move on to Pettyweight Champion of the Week. This is the part of the show where our guest is going to nominate a Pettyweight Champion of the Week, someone in the media who did something petty and it was iconic. Layla, who are you nominating this week?
I am nominating Ariana Grande and Zach Sang. Zach Sang released an episode with Ariana on his show, The Zach Sang Show, part 1 of his interview with her. And it's like a 40-minute video on YouTube. I watched the whole thing today, and they mainly talk about like her new album, Wicked, REM Beauty. Like it's basically just very promotional. And then the very last like 4 minutes, they bring up obviously her whole situation with her new boyfriend and just like how that ties into her music. And her response was basically like, this is what the media does. This is what the tabloids do, especially to women. Like they leave no space for quote nuance and humanness. And the consumers basically like don't, if they like somebody or not, like if the story aligns with their perception of the person, then they just will go along with it and they don't allow for these like gray areas. And just the whole thing was like, but what do you mean actually? Because we know the facts and the facts are like pretty bad. So like it doesn't seem like there's a lot of nuance. There's very interesting choice of words.
Yeah.
And you know, Zach said, like, is there anything you wish people knew? Like giving her the floor to like give herself an ounce of like credibility back. And she was like, funny, so much, but like we don't really have to get into specifics. Like we don't have time to get into the details. And it was like, got it.
I'm so annoyed with her lately. Sorry, Ariana, but like if you want to clear the air, if you want to say the nuanced pieces, this is your time. How are you once again just saying vague shit and then expecting us to like be on your side all of a sudden.
Yeah. I mean, with Ariana, I can definitely like separate the art from the artist. And, her single, it was fine. Like, I don't hate it. It's like
Yeah.
catchy, but like the single is it seems like it's a direct response to this whole situation. The lyrics just being like, yeah, I'm dating a guy who is XYZ and who was recently married and just had a baby and posted on Mother's Day and like was with his high school sweetheart and like I broke up a family. Yes, and so it's kind of ridiculous that like literally one of the lyrics is say that shit with your chest. But then on the flip side, like
She's
she is
not
being so
though.
vague.
Yeah. No, that is such a good point. I think the other thing that I've been realizing, because we're like, yeah, like 8 months post the initial news leaking, is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the ex-wife hasn't said anything else. And to me, I really feel like there isn't another side of the story that we like really need to listen to at this point, because it's like, I feel like when she was first asked and she said like Ariana's not a girl's girl, I think that that statement was done really recent and kind of like flippant, and like she hadn't been,
Emotional.
it was emotional and like it wasn't coached or anything like that. The fact that she hasn't said anything else makes me think that there is legitimacy to everything that happened. It's also so funny because she's like, yeah, like stop tearing down women, but like she's not saying like also like protect the woman that like really got the short end of the stick like here. I think that's brutal. And I think it's understated that like, yeah, it's your high school sweetheart that you just had a first kid with that you were married to. And all of that like ended. Like, I don't know. It's a tough sell. I just like, I get that we don't have a lot of nuanced conversations in the pop culture space about a lot of things, but like for some reason I'm like, this is the conversation that like doesn't need any nuance.
Yeah, I always try to like have some other perspective and recognize that like we don't know these people, we don't know the situation, like we only know one side of it, or maybe like a
Exactly.
couple sides of it that they let us see. And so when I try to think like, okay, like what is this nuance she's talking about? There's definitely like a lot of human error going on. Like that's 100%, but like the nuance that would possibly be making this okay is like he was unhappy in his marriage, totally. But like maybe finalize your divorce before you start hooking up with a pop star. Like there's just not that much nuance that could possibly happen to where his wife is this catches her so off guard while he's filming a movie in London, by the way. Like this was all happening while he wasn't at home every day. Yeah, it's just like if you're gonna say anything, don't say that. I don't know, say nothing probably. Like I think it's crazy she even is releasing music right now, let alone this like single that's yes and being like, what about it? I think she could have
Totally.
just written this out until the fall when Wicked was coming out and just done her press for Wicked and then kind of gone under the radar.
Totally. I also just think it's really hard to be a spouse of a person that's like works on Broadway or is like an actor like seeking fame or like whatever. Like if I feel like it'd be similar to like dating a professional athlete. Like if you're giving up so much to support your partner's career, which again, I don't know this girl from a fucking hole in the wall, but like I think she's a normie. Like, I don't think she has a job in the industry or whatever. And it's like, man, just thinking about all the years that you like sacrificed for your partner for this to be the outcome, I just feel like is really, really tough. So, yeah, she's like, I don't think she's handling it well. I think she's kind of being petty and like, her PR team should have come up with something better.
Yeah, the PR team was like not on their A game with this interview. She clearly, when she was talking, she felt very frustrated. You could like see that. And she felt very misunderstood and misrepresented. And I'm holding space for that. But like,
Yeah.
if there is nuance or like a humanness, like stick up for yourself. Like, if
Yeah.
there's the side of it that we're not seeing, like you don't owe us anything, but also like this isn't helping.
Yeah, like I don't want her to like endlessly suffer. It's kind of like the Tom Sandoval thing. Like I don't want him for the next the next 50 years of his life or whatever to like needlessly suffer. I want you to take accountability for your mistakes and learn and grow. But I don't like wish ill on you per se. And yeah, same goes to Ethan and Ariana. Like, I wish them well, but like, I think a better reason would have been like, and not that they owe us an explanation, but like maybe in this type of long form interview, like this would be the time to do it. If you really want to clear the air, don't say that you want to clear the air if you like actually don't want to.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I feel like she talked about writing this album like all very recently, and it was all kind of during this time and about this situation and very much inspired. And it'll be interesting what the rest of the album is and kind of what we can take away from the other songs.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Also, I was just gonna say, who the fuck is Zach Sang? Because his TikToks of him podcasting come up on my For You page all the time, and he gets really big guests, and I can't place him.
Okay, I'm glad you said something because I Googled him today because I was like, wait, actually, who is he? Because he does get big guests.
Yes.
I was confusing him with Zach Lowe for the longest time.
Right.
Or not confusing, just like thinking they were the same person.
Yeah.
Zach Lowe is also like podcaster, interviewer to like music specifically.
Yeah.
And I think Zach Sang is literally just a radio DJ, like radio host, like AM, FM. And he just like started doing podcasting. Maybe he like struck while the iron was hot and like got popular, or I don't know really what his origin is, but he was literally just on some like radio show and then started his own show.
That makes sense. The way his voice is and his interview questions and stuff like that, that makes a lot of sense. Good for him. I like his content. I don't listen to the podcast like regularly, but I do watch a lot of his clips. So I was like, at some point I was like, who is this guy? But good for him.
Yeah, I do see his clips on TikTok a lot and never really figured him out.
Yeah, because he just has such like, yeah, like talks to like Trisha Paytas and like Liz Gillies from Victorious as well, and like stuff like that. And so I'm just like, I was wondering, oh, was he on like a Disney Channel or like a Nickelodeon show or something? But yeah, it's like Nickelodeon people and then like niche internet celebrities that he interviews.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Okay, finally, let's wrap up with This Week in Petty, where Layla is going to share a story about something that's happened to her in her real life that she's petty about. What are you petty about this week?
Okay, so I recently moved from Chicago to San Diego, and so I'm very much acclimating to my new like West Coast lifestyle. And Chicago is like very Midwest, but it's by no means like the big bad city, but like it's still like a city and like not super like just the people are like have places to be and people to see. And I feel like in San Diego, everyone is just so nice and so friendly all the time. Every cashier wants to strike up a conversation with you. Everybody passing you on the street, like, you know, it's just like your friendly neighbor. And I am just like not used to it and also not really down for it. Especially
literally, I was like, that sounds awful.
Yeah, it's like really, I don't want to like paint the sob story, but I'm like, I am busy. And even if I wasn't, I don't want to talk to some stranger about like the whatever. Like you can't even talk about the weather because it's the same every day and it's gorgeous. And it's like, what are we supposed to do? It's not even just at Trader Joe's because I feel like Trader Joe's everywhere, they're like trained to like talk to you, but like ordering a smoothie, he's like, oh, like, do you have off work today? And I'm like, oh, I work from home. And he's like, what do you do? And I'm like telling him my life story.
Yeah.
Get a smoothie.
That's so funny. Like sometimes, like 99% of the time, I feel like that too. I'm like, stop talking to me. Like, why are you happy? Why do you want to talk to me? And then recently I'm like, am I like so bitter? I'm like, is this so like sad of me that I like I think it was recently I read an article about how stores, especially Canadian stores, like this big chain, Canadian Tire, which honestly like fucking love, even though I know it is like an automotive or whatever store, but like it has other stuff, and it's fun to like walk through those aisles. But anyways, a big chain in Canada was talking about how they're removing a lot of the self-cashier checkout stands, and that you like have to go back to talking to people to get your groceries bagged or whatever. And I actually was like, I guess this is the end of me. I'm like, I guess grocery delivery is in my future.
Yeah, no, I actually went to the grocery store this morning and they were redoing the entire self-checkout, like wires out of the floor, like everything was taped off, like they were completely in construction mode. So I had to go to a regular cashier, and I was like,
yeah.
It was like really early though. So I was like, hopefully nobody tries to talk to me, and I think I made it out alive. But
that's good.
yeah, but also I'm like, okay, I need to make friends. Like I'm new to the city. I need to meet new people. Like I need to like turn on this like switch, and I've been trying to like be more friendly and sociable and like lean into these casual conversations, but sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I like really don't care.
No, truly. It's really tough, I feel like, moving to a new city post-grad, like anytime post-college. I feel like that's the last time that it's like really easy to make friends. And then like you're like, oh, I'll like join like a yoga class or something like that. It's like, yeah, but you don't like talk in yoga classes. And like that's like not gonna help. Or like
I know.
You strike up a conversation with people, and it's like not that that's ever gonna lead to a friendship. Maybe it does. Who knows? I don't know.
I know, it's more so just like putting out the vibes to the universe that I'm like willing
friendly.
to accept new. Yeah, you know that
You're manifesting.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Okay, maybe this is a lesson for us all. Maybe this is our we're heading into Q2. So I feel like maybe this could be our Q2 goal, is to affirm that we are friendly and we can talk to strangers.
Also, I feel like in my neighborhood, there's like so many retired people, and I'll be walking around with headphones in, and then this elderly person will pass me and say something, and I'm like, I have no idea what you just said. Like I was listening to something, but they're just out here listening, like never listening to anything, talking to strangers. Like
when I see people that aren't listening to stuff in the wild, like on a bus or like walking or whatever, I don't know. I'm shook to my core every single time I see someone like raw dogging like a walk around the neighborhood.
No, I was just thinking that it's like so aggressive, but like I simply could never raw dog a walk.
No, literally. I know. I also live in a neighborhood that has a lot of like retired folks, and like whenever people say something to me, I just go, have a good day as I'm walking by. But there must be something about me, which I feel like I'm scowly all the time. There must be something about me that like that lets people think that they can talk to me. It sounds so bad, but like I feel like I'm like literally frowning every time I'm in public, so I don't get why people are like, oh, this is the chick I'm gonna strike up a convo with.
No, I also feel like I'm scowling 24/7, but somehow am very approachable to most people.
No, literally, what is it? Like, listeners, sound off in the comments. Like, no, literally, what is it? Because, like, I don't even feel like I'm friendly. People have said I'm, like, I feel like not friendly. Like, in public. Like, I don't know. There's just something about it where people, I guess, feel like they want to ask me what the time is, or tell me a little story about their day or the neighborhood or whatever. Maybe in Q2 we're open to that and we are embracing it. And yeah, next time I'll think about this conversation, and I'll take a deep breath and like actually, I don't know, like form a response. Question mark.
I'm trying to figure out the art of like being friendly without continuing the conversation.
Oh my God.
Like responding in a nice way that doesn't allow them to respond back. So it's like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm being nice, but I'm not getting stuck in like a 10-minute combo with a stranger.
Okay, literally, what is that though? Because I don't know. Yeah. I think it's the anyways, have a nice day.
No, I think that's a huge. I'm keeping that in my back pocket always.
Yeah, but the tone of voice, it can't be like, anyways, have a nice day. It's like, it has to, like, it can't be dismissive. You have to, like, really put your full, like, phone call voice or customer service
Yeah.
voice on and just, like, give her, I don't know, maybe add a little
Yeah.
wave. I don't know.
Yeah. Just say like, I don't know. I don't know. We'll work on it. We'll
Yeah.
discuss. We'll circle back in Q3.
Yeah, we'll workshop this. Okay, this was super, super fun, Layla. Can you let the listeners know where they can find you and anything else you want to plug?
You can find me on TikTok and Instagram at IDK, my BFF, Lay. Lay is spelled Lei.
Amazing. Thank you so much again for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I had the best time.
And there you have it. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you to Layla for joining me on today's episode. I wanted to give a little bit of a episode 2 of Summer House recap because Layla and I recorded this episode before that one had dropped. And let's just say, well, I thought that the premiere was going to show a more unbiased version of the breakup of Carl and Lindsay. I took a quick pivot in episode 2. I think it is pretty unexcusable and also something unreprehensible, maybe is the word I'm looking for. I'm not sure. It's 9:30 p.m., people. But I feel like what she did was such a betrayal that it's something I feel like you couldn't get over in a relationship, or you would have to do some couples counseling. And this happening right before the wedding, or like 3 months before the wedding or whatever, 6 months before the wedding. It's July, they get married in November. You do the math, but like is a pretty tough sell. So what do I think happened? I think that she was blackout drunk. She doesn't excuse it, but gives it context. I think he was sober. I feel like he had a bad moment with her where he was maybe aggressive. And it seems like in the preview that I've seen for episode 3, she meant, you don't seem sober, like you seem like the old Carl where you were aggressive and mean and dismissive and stuff like that. Not that she actually thinks that he was doing cocaine, taking drugs. I think she was so fucking drunk that she didn't articulate that. And to even verbalize that when you know you're being filmed, I think is rough. I think, again, it's something you probably couldn't get over in your relationship. Like, she knows how hard he works at sobriety, how everyone who is struggling with addiction works at sobriety, how difficult it is. And to throw around those words like cocaine Carl and like saying that he's not sober when you know you're being filmed, I think is really brutal. I think she was having feelings and she took out it in this way, and I think that's really mean-spirited. I think obviously the right way to react would be like, she's having these feelings where he's being a little bit like the old Carl. It's like you lock it down, you have Sunday, you get home and the cameras aren't recording, and you go, hey, what happened Saturday night or Friday night or whenever, because it seemed like you were the old you and like that didn't work for us. I like the new you or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm out to lunch here, but I actually it's like case closed on what happened with them this summer. Like, I don't need to see anymore. It's like, I don't really know how you move past that. And watching it back must be really tough. She did like a little statement on her Instagram, and she's like, I just like worded it poorly, and it was like, no, you were like tripling down. And yes, that's a loose way of putting it, that you worded it poorly. And then one final thing, and then we can wrap up. But Amanda and Kyle, I just think, are headed for a divorce. Like, they just don't seem, I don't think they've ever really been on the same page, but as of lately, they just seem way worse. I just feel like we'll see a divorce in the next like year or so. I feel like they feel pressured at this point now that I have more info. I feel like they feel pressured to have kids and move to the suburbs because of their age and stuff like that, and that they're married. But I think they're like prolonging it because like they actually don't want that to happen because they know they're gonna break up. Okay, that's so brutal. Anyways, hopefully we can catch up with Layla at the end of the season. Happy watching. And again, thank you so much for listening. Over on Patreon, patreon.com/RTBB podcast, we are covering celebs with fake accents with Cam from What I Will Say and Stay-at-Home Girlfriends. So picture Austin Butler, Hilaria Baldwin, Taylor Swift, hello, debut album. It was a super fun episode to record, so I can't wait for you to hear it on Thursday. And I'd like to shout out to amazing patrons, Jody C. and Lindsay L. I hope you were both killing it this week, that the start of March has been easy and smooth for you. Thank you so much for supporting my work. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. Mwah. Love you both. If you're looking for more content from me, you can also catch me on Ready to Be Romance, my other podcast. This week, I'm covering Fourth Wing from a friend. Actually, I feel like now I can call him a longtime friend because we have known each other since 2015. So that is going to be super, super fun. I had lots of LOLs, and if you're a big fantasy book reader, it definitely has some romance, but it definitely is skewed more fantasy. So if you like fantasy novels, maybe check this one out and then catch us over on Ready to Be Romanced. Okay, everybody, I hope you are safe and healthy out there. As always, I'm your host, Tori, and I'm ready to be petty. See you soon. Bye.